Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here with this little quickie, I don't know what to call this, chatty walkthrough of my paper color experiment results. Those of you who watched last week's Storycraft video were very interested in the results of these papers, and I realized as I was going to go film the next edition of Storycraft that you wouldn't be able to see them in the way that you guys want to see them at hyper speed, which I normally record at like 5 times the normal speed. So you wouldn't be able to like get all the details you want to see. And then I had some thoughts about my color experiment that I thought I would share with you guys because I think it might be useful if you choose to do the same thing. So I thought we would do like a little flip through reveal, and I would tell you guys my thoughts and opinions on this color experiment and how it came out, and maybe some tips and tricks for the next time for myself, but also like for you guys if you want to do it. And before we start, like, we are as zoomed out as I can possibly go without like showing you the wreck that is my desk currently. That's how many papers I got. I filled that pan to the brim. So in the video, which was the last week's Storycraft, if you're watching this from the way future and not in chronological order, that would be the episode with Savitri and Satyavan. So check out my Storycraft playlist. It's in there. You'll see how we got to this point if you were curious. If you watched last week and you're watching this the very next week, thank you. You're awesome. You're amazing. I love you. But here we are. So after I got done recording the bit that I did for that video, I continued to go and just fill up the top part because I started to feel like everything was going to be too red or blue, as you can see here. So I was like, I actually need green because my whole like plan is to get some like grungy autumn themed stuff, and I need some more green than red and blue. I did a lot of purple, I think, in this batch too, but you can see, like, yeah, there's a lot of greenish, bluish, reddish colors here. And so I ended up filling up the top of that pan, like, to the very, like, lip of the pan with green stuff, which is way down here on the bottom. So, like, it's more greenish, brownish colors, which works perfectly for what I need. This is not my last stop for these papers, so don't think that this is my final product. Just what I got from the pan to here, but I filled it up all the way to the top. As you can see, you get a buttload of papers this way, like legit. And after I was done filling the pan up, I went to put it in the oven at like 250 for a damn decade. It wasn't that long, but like, you know, it felt like forever. And I put them in there until they started to dry up a little bit and the top got like really brown. So you'll see there's some super dark papers in here because they were the ones on the top. And then I gingerly, sometimes successfully, separated the papers into smaller stacks so I could put it on more trays so that I could get it to dry faster, and then just continue to peel off paper until they were all done drying completely, or for the most part, and then just set them out to chill until I was ready to do this video. So that's where we're at. That's how we got here. I want to show you guys these papers. So a couple of thoughts I had right away was that when I started to do this, I forgot, like when I picked all my colors, that magicals have more than one color inside of them. So just be aware. It kind of shook me. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but I was like, what? That's not what I want. But I kept doing it anyways because I was like, it's an experiment, so we're already here. But you'll get a lot of these little like color variations if you use like Lindy's magicals specifically. Otherwise, if you're just using whatever you have on hand, you're not going to get this effect. This effect is cool. It's not my desired effect, but it's still really cool. Also be aware that like all these mica things will, I don't know if that'll focus because we're so close, will come off. So like for the most part your mica will stay, but like big clumps of mica will eventually rub off. And so if you want to avoid that on your projects, you can like dust over it with like a dry cloth. Or you can spray it down with a fixative. I'm not going to do either because I'm not done. But I am really happy with how these came out. I got some really interesting results. I used a mixture of the Lindy's, of a bunch of the sprays I have like abandoned and don't use ever until I remember that I have them. And then also some homemade like alcohol ink sprays that I made like a freaking millennia ago. Like literally like probably 5 or 6 years ago, when I first started getting into art journaling, which was pre my junk journaling phase. And I just had like redone my craft space and found all these like alcohol sprays. Some of them were dried out. Some of them I could revive, but I made them all with like Kool-Aid and food coloring and was like, I need to use these up. I can't just throw them away because I'm poor. So like supplies are in desperate need, but I need to use them so I can get rid of these so I can have space again. So I was able to use up a bunch of them. But I will say what I learned using the alcohol sprays was that you get a really cool effect. But it's not necessarily the desired effect because one, it blends all your colors together like a lot. So if you don't want a super blendy effect, there's that to contend with. It also gives you a lot more spotting than like I think you expect. You can see it a lot more with the green color ones. I got this effect so much. There's so much paper. Like this spotting dappling effect, which is really neat. This is my favorite piece. This was like the bottom of the pan piece. Like, that was also the other bottom of the pan. But you see this like dapply, splotchy effect? That's from the alcohol causing everything to sort of spread and move. And then when you sandwich like another piece of paper down on top of it, like the moisture sort of locks in and you get that spotty effect. Which is cool, kind of for like my purposes here because I need like a grungy, foresty, moss sort of effect, but it was not what I was going for, so that kind of threw me a little bit too, but I am really happy with how some of these came out. I think more so on this side, on the green side. This cool crisscross pattern I did not expect to pick up, but then I like, look at that. Such a hard time. I don't have patience for things, so if you're going to do this, be more patient than me and let things like actually separate and don't pull them apart like a maniac. What was I talking about? So like, yeah, this was not my desired effect, but it was the effect I got from using the alcohol sprays. So if you don't want this effect, I mean, you're probably still going to get something similar to this because you're stacking like wet things on top of wet things, but you're not going to get such a pronounced effect because all your colors aren't going to like mesh into one, without the alcohol. So like you'll get better looks with your regular sprays and colors and pigments. Also remember that like your sprays aren't as pigmented as like straight up pigment like the Lindy's Magicals are. So you're not going to get as much depth of color. So like I use like those alcohol sprays and stuff, but you can't really tell like how deep the color is. It didn't come through to the other side because it dries out a lot. Which is okay, because I didn't want, like, overwhelming colors in here anyways. Because, like I said, I have plans. But there's so much paper. Which is, like, the cool thing about this, because I will definitely not need to dye paper for a very long time. I really love, like, this section. This also came out extra crispy. So I'll have a lot to work with here, and then what I'm going to do in 2 days video... Yeah, I'm going to put this video up at the same time because a lot of you guys were asking me about the results and I didn't have anything to show you and then I was worried you wouldn't get to see it. This is really cool. So in today's Storycraft video, you'll see what I do with this. This one I won't do anything to because it's pretty cool. I'm just going to add more color and get some more variation and like layering. It'll be fun. But yeah, that's... green side. So I'm going to pop back over to the color side so you guys can see this is the stuff that was in the video. So we got like a really great mix of color. I'm actually a little bit sad because that red was in their autumn pack. I don't remember the name of it. It was in the tube for autumn colors. And it's actually a little bit more pink than red. I don't know how well that's picking up on camera, but it's very pink, like almost magenta kind of pink. So I'm a little bit not thrilled about that because I wasn't going for pink, I was going for red, but it is what it is. This page is really cool. But you can see more of that like dapple effect. That's the alcohol. Look how cool that is. That page is staying like this. That's freaking amazing. Because I wouldn't have been able to get these results like organically trying to dip paper. which is how I normally do. I really love this. In fact, this little inside section came out really great. But like, here's a really good example of like a super high concentrate of like mica. Yeah, that's gonna come off eventually. So I would get like a stiff bristle brush if you want and like knock it back. You're gonna lose your sparkly a bit, or like a cloth, like a dry cloth to wipe it off. But then it's not gonna transfer to your other projects. It just depends. I guess it just depends on how much you care, because like some of them aren't coming off, but some of them do. But it is a really cool effect on these. This one's also cool too. I think this was another top sheet because it's extra crunchy. So yeah, so really cool effect. I'm really happy with how it came out, even though there's some things I'm like, I could do this better next time. This is perfect to me. Like exactly the vibe I'm going for. And then the pink on the back makes me mad. So yeah, and most of that pan turned out to be more red than I expected. Even though I used like a good mix of colors, I was expecting them all to get like really muddy and brown, which again would work for the theme I was going for. Disappointingly, but also surprisingly, I did not make mud. I think probably because I used stuff that was pretty good. I thought like the green and the red would eventually brown it up, but since I was going for woodsy and brown, it would work, but it didn't go brown. It just got red, so the red was very predominant. Very predominant. But I do love this. I love this like segregation here. Some of these chunks, I thought that they were magical, so I tried to like re-wet them, but they're not. They just look like burnt bits of pigment, and they won't come out, so there's this like permanent texture in this paper that I don't want to like pick at too much, because I tried to like pick at right here and I just tore the paper. So that's another thing to consider, is that some of your pigments might just burn to the page. I'm not upset because I like the effect. I also really like the back of this. This one's neat. I have a doily on the bottom of my pan to try to prevent getting this word on here, and it always comes through, so like no amount of coverage stops the words, but it added a really cool effect to the page. Also, people who put words on the bottom of their bakeware should be fired. This page is really cool. I really love how vibrant like the orange and the yellow is in here, and I wish I got more of this in the set. It looks really great against this like purple too. This one's just a really beautiful colored page. And then look how red the back is. It's so bananas. So I think that's all I have to add to the color experiment. Wear gloves because you're gonna stain everything. And then maybe just pull out some stuff, like some colors and things that you don't use very often, because you can get some really great effects. And then you also make space in your craft room, which means that you get to go buy more things because you made space. So like that's how that works, I'm pretty sure. I love how like grungy this is. I think I'll do this again with like a predominantly coffee dye situation, and then just add in like little splotches of color. I think that'll come out really cool. But just be predominantly coffee. Like just get like a pitcher and just pour it in there. I think that'll work. I really look forward to trying this like technique for coloring again, because you get such interesting results, and I like that I can't like be super in control of it. If you know, it's like that feeling, like I get to be a little bit out of control and a little bit experimental while still like having a controlled, confined space. I really like this. I'm mad that this page like creased so much, but then I'm also not mad. You know what I mean? I like the texture. It's just like that smooth brain reaction where I'm like, just flatten. But like, yeah, I don't know if that bothers you. Maybe be better about processing your paper when you're drying. I didn't. I just was like, go, 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 go. But I am happy with how these came out. I keep saying that like I'm trying to convince myself, but it's not the case. I am happy. I'm looking forward to like upgrading some of these. Some of these I won't do anything to, like, because I really like this effect. I don't think it needs much, but then like this doesn't match this, so that's probably one of those things I'll cut down, and then I'll do something with this at some point, probably today when I'm going through here. Even like this one, it's really, really blue. I think it's probably the bluest set out of like all of them. But then like the mica color is like a copper bronze-ish color, and it just looks really great against this. And some of these will be really fun to use for like die cuts too. I think I'll get a really cool effect out of those. But yeah, what I'm going to do is stop what I'm doing. And then just speed up slightly, not 5 times, so you guys can see the rest of these. And just play some music through the end. So if you want to see what the rest of these look like, hang in there. If not, that's all for me for now. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Make sure you jump blah blah blah. Words are really hard. You jump into the next storycraft, which will be the one immediately after Savitri and Satyavan if you are watching this from the future and not in chronological order. I don't know what episode that is because I'm not a good YouTube host, but if you will jump on for that, you'll see what happens to these papers next. But that's going to be it for me, guys, so I appreciate your faces, especially if you make it all the way to the end. Until then, happy crafting. Bye!